do 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 that superhero thing. Do do
Oh my
do
god.
do 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 do.
Wow. Wow. I knew it was coming and it was still really. Oh, wow. Okay. Sound. Right. Okay, right. I don't know. I'll just have to go now, won't I? Right. Hi, everybody, and Hi, everybody, and welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book related movies and TV shows. I'm your host Nick, and joining me with that lovely song was Anthony.
Hello.
Oh my god. Hello. Yeah. So we're on episode 2. Didn't think we'd be doing an episode 2.
No.
No, it's one of them, isn't it? Right, so, yeah, episode 2. Thank you for everybody who's come back. I can't, hopefully some people will have come back after episode 1 and the audio syncing and all that sort of stuff, but we'll carry on, eh? So,
Yeah.
we'll do, we're just going to go through what we did last time. So, we'll go through all the news, this week's news. There's quite a lot, isn't there? So we'll run through all that. And what I'm going to do is, in case you get fed up with the news, basically, or you're just not interested and you just want to go through what we think about Wandavision, we will put in the description like a timestamp of when we start talking about Wandavision, and we'll go through all that. So, news this week, the first bit of news which we just missed out on last week was the Justice League trailer, or the Snyder Cut trailer, which a lot of people are waiting quite a bit of time for. Have you watched the trailer this week, Anthony?
Do you know what? I have.
Well done. What did right, before we start sort of breaking it down, what did you think? What did you think of it?
So from what I remember from I'm not going to lie to you. I've only watched the actual Justice League film when it first came out. I haven't really looked and watched it since.
Yeah, me too.
But I can very much feel the darker vibe straight away just from the advert.
Yeah. It's Zack Snyder, isn't it? It's gonna be.
Yeah. So that tone is a lot darker. Obviously the snippet with Joker as well. And that little section, and people have kind of pulled that apart and questioned what that is, whether it's some sort of nightmare and all sorts, haven't they? There's been all sorts of kind of suggestions about it. But to be fair, I mean it looks decent. I'm actually.
I agree. I mean, I wasn't excited at all for it. Yeah,
No.
me too. I wasn't. I mean, I think I watched the first, or the original, let's call it, Justice League. I don't think I got around to watching it till it came on to like Netflix or Sky Movies or something like that. I think I probably had an idea that it wasn't going to be good. So, and I went in with that idea, and it wasn't one of them films where I was like, oh, that was surprising. It wasn't great. I just didn't think it was particularly good and didn't really enjoy it. So when this whole Snyder Cut situation was happening and people demanding it, and then they won and they got the Snyder Cut, I thought it was just going to be better than the Whedon cut, shall we call it, but I still didn't think it was going to be massively, a massive improvement. But to be fair, from the trailer, I'm actually quite excited. I think it looks good.
There's parts that I'm still questioning though, because obviously, there were so many rumors about how many new scenes he was shooting and all that kind of stuff, and then now we've obviously been told that it looks like there's only actually one new scene in the whole thing. I assume that means
is that what you've read? Is it? I thought it was. I thought it was. Okay.
But I'm wondering whether the other stuff is scenes that he had already shot but just were never used.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Because
I assume that's what it is.
Yeah, because it's 4 hours, isn't it? It's a 4 hour. It's a 4 hour film with an intermission halfway through. It's that. So it can't be. I'd guess it's just that he's only filmed one new scene for it, and then he's going to use a lot more, because sort of skipping ahead to a little bit, we've obviously got like a bit of a breakdown to go through, but the Barry Allen scene where he rescues Iris from like what looks like a car crash, we saw that years ago when I think it might have been in like one of the initial trailers, and then obviously it got pulled apart, didn't it?
Yeah.
So there must be a bit more to it. So should we go? Let's break down the trailer. Let's go through the trailer. So the first, obviously, we start off with Superman dying. I think that must be from Dawn of Justice when he got stabbed with the kryptonite spear. The first thing that I noticed straight away, or to be fair, it took me a couple of goes, and when I realised something was iffy or different, is the aspect ratio. It's square, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you get onto that? And apparently that's how it's going.
Now that you've said it, yeah.
It's going to be released that way. So that's going to be how it's released. So it's not going to be in widescreen or anything like that. It's going to be released in that square aspect ratio, because when Zack Snyder filmed it, it was filmed for IMAX and for obviously IMAX cinema screens and stuff. So rather than sort of cutting it down and missing out on things that apparently are very important for us to see in the whole screen, that's the aspect ratio that they're gonna release it in. So it is going to be very different to anything we've seen. Obviously 4 hours intermission and a bit of a weird aspect ratio. So it's definitely going to be its own thing. I was just saying it's probably going to be similar, not exactly the same, but like when Peter Jackson released The Hobbit in 48 frames per second, and that looked weird. It was just a different way of doing cinema, wasn't it? So that'll be quite interesting to see. But I think you'll get used to it. I suppose it's similar to Wandavision, isn't it? Like the first 2 episodes of Wandavision were all set in that aspect ratio, and after about a minute of watching it, it didn't feel weird at all. No. So we get the trailer open in that way. I think it's Lex, Jesse Eisenberg, going on about little monologuing, saying how the god is dead. And then I think it's Superman's scream sort of like echoing out. So I don't know whether that's what's going to tell Darkseid that, I don't know, maybe like the Earth it's got no one to protect it, and it's, he can come and attack it. And then that's when we get the Batman saying, I had a dream, and it starts showing you like that nightmare world. But that was is that from Dawn of Justice? I think it's from Dawn of Justice, isn't it? It's not from the original Justice League or that, is it? Wasn't he having like a nightmare that Superman had gone bad or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and then obviously we come back to, I think that comes back at the end of the trailer. We see Darkseid for the first time, and apparently he's the big villain of the film. So it's not Steppenwolf. Obviously we've got stuff to say about Steppenwolf, but Darkseid is going to be the main villain. I've read. So again, there must be more than just the extra little bit. Obviously it's 4 hours, as we said, but I would imagine there's going to be quite a bit of that, because we've not, other than that shot and a couple of bit of like promo bits of material, I don't think we've not really seen much of him. Then we see Steppenwolf, still Kieran Hines, who did him in the original, but this time it doesn't just look like Kieran Hines has got a helmet on. He looks very different. Steppenwolf, I think I put on Twitter, he looks like Gizmo after midnight and took a load of steroids. He looks well weird. It's just not. But isn't he supposed to be Darkseid's brother? He doesn't look any. I know obviously it's a comic book movie, like, but he doesn't even look like he'd be like the same race. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody comment or something like that if I'm completely wrong. But that's what I thought. We see the same fight where Steppenwolf's fighting in Themyscira, which is obviously where Wonder Woman lives. I think it's called Themyscira. I'm not really that into the Justice League film, as we said. And then we get that shot with Barry Allen saving Iris. So again, that's going to be quite good to see, because I don't think we got not enough of the Flash, but there wasn't. And I know we don't need a backstory, because we all know the Flash, and we saw him in Batman vs Superman. But again, rather than just dropping him straight into it, it'd be good to see a little bit more of him. And then we get Black Suit Superman. We get not our first look, because obviously we got that tiny little clip last week, sort of the trailer for the trailer. But yeah, we saw Black Suit Superman. What do we think? Black Suit's cool, or is it just for dramatic effect?
Like it. I think it's quite cool.
I do. Yeah,
I think it's a bit different. It's a different take. Like everyone's always just gone down that route of Superman's morality and stuff like that. So to actually to see this darker side is quite. It's one of the things that I'm quite intrigued about and looking forward to kind of seeing. So.
Yeah, well, Zack Snyder got interviewed, and I think he got asked about it, and he was trying to sort of justify putting him in the black suit, and I don't think he felt like he'd say, "Oh, just it looks cool, it looks much cooler, so I'll put him in a black suit." He said it's something to do with the fact that if you look at the original Man of Steel movie, most people, if not all people on Krypton, were wearing like black or really dark grey suits, and it was only the like Superman suit. Yeah. So I kind of get that. Whether they explain that in the movie or he's trying to sort of justify putting him in a black suit because he thought it looked cool, I don't know, but we'll see, won't we? And then we get a few more shots, like little montagey shots, sort of showing a bit of action and stuff. See Cyborg with the mother box getting like sort of hit back with it, or blown back with the mother box. So that's obviously still going to form part of the story. And then you get a really pissed off looking Superman with doing his heat vision, which is obviously, I've seen that picture like 100 times on Twitter, every comic book website of him using his heat vision. Again, that I've got a feeling that's going to be sort of when he fights Steppenwolf rather than fighting Darkseid. I don't know where. Obviously, we don't know where it's going to go at the end. Whether it's going to wrap up the whole story or I don't know.
Do you know what?
They're going to sort of take it into a new, continue the Justice League films from this. But I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go.
I think as long as we don't see that terribly CGI'd mustache out of shot, I think I'll be.
I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss his wibbly wobbly lips. I like them. It's not gonna be the same without the wobbly lips at all. It's just I love that. That just was the Justice League film, and all the shots and everything like that is so good. It's so good. One thing I did notice, which you just reminded me because of the wibbly wobbly lips. The whole, obviously I know it's a trailer, it's a 2.5 minute trailer, and it's a 4-hour film, so you're not gonna, there's gonna be loads in the film that we haven't even seen a clip of in the trailer, but it didn't look like, apart from like one tiny bit of flash, but I don't know whether it'd be in the film. There was no part of where they confront Superman when he first gets brought back to life. And that was obviously quite a big bit of the film, or the Whedon version of the film. And it was quite heavily focused in the trailers. So I wonder whether we're going to get that, or whether Superman's just going to rock up, at some point when they're fighting Steppenwolf or something. What? Yeah. Rock up.
Just like, I'm back.
It might be. You don't know. But yeah, so that was one thing that I sort of noticeably wasn't there. And then obviously we finished it with Jared Leto's Joker saying, "We live in a society." I don't get that. Apparently it's a meme, and it's a famous meme about the Joker, but he's never said it, and everyone's buzzing that Zack Snyder had included that line, but I don't know. I've never heard it. Have you heard it? We live in a society. No, neither have I. But everyone was going absolutely mental about it. Again, that was in this like post-apocalyptic world. So again, whether it's real, whether it's a dream, whether it's a alternate reality, multiverse type thing. Which again, I know you've got stuff to talk about when we talk about the Flash movie, but I don't know. Yeah. It'd be weird. And then, 18th of March, which was a lot sooner than I thought. I genuinely didn't realise it was coming out so soon until the trailer. I thought it was still absolute months away. And then you told me yesterday, I didn't know we'd had a date for the UK yet. But yeah, apparently a couple of days ago, it's been confirmed for the 18th in the UK.
So basically they've said everywhere except I think it's China, France, Japan, and there was one other place. Everywhere's going to have it on some sort of streaming platform. Whether you have to pay for it or anything, I don't know yet. They've not kind of told us any details or anything, but they've said it's definitely going to be available on the same day everywhere else. So again, that'll be kind of a watch this space thing.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. That I would imagine. I know we've got all our listeners and stuff like that, but we can see wherever people listening. Obviously, anyone in the US is obviously going to get it on HBO Max, which isn't free, but you pay your subscription and you get everything on there. I would imagine for the UK, Sky tend to get everything off from HBO, and they'll probably charge for it. So I would imagine it'd be, if you've got Sky, you can pay £15 to rent it on Sky Store or something like that. It's not going to be it's not going to be free. It'd be a good way of getting subscriptions, but
yeah.
it's unlikely, isn't it? But yeah, that'll be good. Same weekend as Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, so it's going to be a busy weekend, and lots for us. It's going to be a really long podcast, or a couple of podcasts, isn't it? Next bit of news I saw, which I thought I sort of misjudged this news, or didn't understand it straight away, is that we are getting Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. Obviously, Rian Johnson directed the second of the new Star Wars films, The Last Jedi. I thought it meant, when I saw the news, that he was going to do his version of the latest Star Wars trilogy. Thank God I was wrong. It's not. He's doing his own Star Wars trilogy. Apparently, the idea or the rumor is that it's not. It's going to be like new characters, nothing at all to do with any characters that we've seen so far in Star Wars. I don't know whether it'll be good or not. There's nothing confirmed by Disney. There's nothing confirmed by Lucasfilm or whatever. It's just literally he was asked in an interview and he announced that it's still going ahead. But there's no dates, no story, anything like that. After The Last Jedi, I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think?
I mean, this was the thing, because again, Last Jedi and then Rise of Skywalker. It just went, in my opinion, it went downhill. It just seemed like it was similar stuff, all the stuff that's been done in the past. I think the Luke Skywalker ending was a bit naff, for his role within the films and stuff. It was a bit of a letdown. I think it was the main thing for me, for example, was Carrie Fisher, obviously, with her passing and all that kind of stuff. That made things a lot harder. But even when they introduced her properly with the Force, when she got sucked out of that window, I mean,
that was the weirdest thing I've seen.
Do you know what I mean? I was just a bit like, really? That
it literally looked like somebody just
taken.
taken. I know, it just looked like somebody. The way they did it as well, it was like proper half-assed. It looked like somebody just got a picture of Carrie Fisher and just like on Photoshop just dragged it across the screen. She didn't even move. It was just like, drag her across, and then she's out now. She's got Jedi powers, and that's it. I mean, I can remember. I remember we went to watch it, obviously, didn't we, for the midnight showing? Yeah. And we were buzzing before we watched it, and we'd read like I'm sure there was a tweet, and it was like the greatest scene in any Star Wars movie, and we both came out, and the first thing we were like was, what scene? What? Because there was nothing in there that was the greatest out of any Star Wars movie at all. Yeah, opening up a whole different kind of worms here, but yeah,
I think someone was paid to fluff that up, like.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. I've not got fond memory. I don't think I've watched it again since we watched it at the cinema. To be honest, and I don't think I've even watched the last one again since then. No. But there's nothing really that's making me like, I want to, Whereas it's weird because the first one, what was it called? The Force Awakens. That was brilliant. Yeah. I really enjoyed The Force Awakens, and I don't know how you can mess it up so badly. And I don't think you can sit there and say studio interference, like is obviously the classic line, because, I mean, Disney do Marvel, and they're doing that well. So I don't know what went wrong there. Whether it was Rian Johnson and he just sort of lost it a bit or got a bit power hungry, I don't know. But we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens with that, and whether he gets a trilogy or not, or whether he just gets one film and then it sort of dies a death. I don't know. We'll see.
That's the other worrying thing when somebody sets it out as a trilogy, isn't it? Because what you don't want is something like The Golden Compass, for example, where
I didn't even
they
watch
start.
It.
Well, you start something out and then don't finish it. I find it so frustrating. So that's kind of going to be the hardest part, is if you start a film, and even if it's not incredible, if it doesn't do enough justice, then they just won't carry it on, and then that would be more frustrating for me as someone who
it'll do money though.
The whole story.
It's a Star Wars film. It'll do massive money. There's no. I don't think there's much doubt there. But I don't know. I suppose if it gets really bad reviews though, they won't. I don't think they'd be scared to sort of just shut it down if it doesn't get a good reception. Next bit of news, or more news. Quite a bit of like Marvel news this week. So we got confirmation that on the 12th of March, there's quite a bit coming to Disney Plus on the 12th of March. So we have got 4 new episodes of Marvel Legends, which we got 2 episodes of before Wandavision started the week before. So we got a Wandavision episode on the 12th of March to fill the gap, or the 1 week gap. or 2-week gap technically, between the end of WandaVision and the start of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We are getting 4 episodes all dropped on the same day of Legends. So we're getting a Bucky episode, a Sam episode, a Sharon Carter episode, and a Zemo episode. Just, it's like, did you watch the ones on Disney Plus for Wanda and Vision? Don't worry if you didn't. You watched the trailer this week. That was good. Can't win them all, Anthony. It was just like 5 minute. It was just like a 5-minute clips of like kind of summarizing the story. So it was basically just clips of the movies they've been in, sort of summarizing. I say sort of a lot on this podcast.
So that you know where they're coming from.
Yes, so you know where they're coming from. Yeah,
I
know they said sort of again, just to build up your knowledge before or refresh your knowledge before. Something else when they were talking about that, not Sharon Carter because she's not a real person. Emily Van Camp, who is a real person who plays Sharon Carter, I thought it was quite funny. She was being interviewed, and somebody asked her, "Is Falcon and the Winter Soldier gonna have the same level of mystery each week as WandaVision has?" Because obviously it's got everybody talking every week, and that's the benefit of it releasing week by week. And she said, "I think there are elements of that, but I also think you can kind of count on just good old-fashioned action." So no, I just thought you could have just said no, because it's not clearly not going to have any mystery. It's just going to be action, which isn't a bad thing. It's not wrong or anything like that, but
no.
Just say no. It's not a mystery. It's obviously not a mystery show, is it? And then we've got that Assembled as well, which is starting on the same day. So that's just like another documentary series. And the first episode is going to be the behind the scenes of WandaVision, so the making of WandaVision. So similar to the Star Wars galleries that they did for The Mandalorian. So just the making of that. And they've said that each maybe not every week, because Marvel Legends obviously isn't every week, but they're going to release sort of behind the scenes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Black Widow movie. So I would imagine they'll just release one of them every time a series finishes or something new comes out. Other Marvel news, we had the rumor about the Thor. You've got more info on this one. Who did we think we had on in Thor cameo, did you say?
I mean, so it's a cameo role appearance that's been announced, and then they said that it was from a female award-winning / nominated superhero. Which narrows it down quite a lot.
Yeah, just a bit.
And we're just being told it's Brie Larson, so we'll have Captain Marvel making an appearance in Thor.
Makes sense.
So
in space, we've got the Guardians, haven't we? So yeah,
it's a realm in it, so should be about.
Should be good. And we've got to lead into Captain Marvel. We need something to lead into Captain Marvel 2 and sort of touch base with them, I suppose. And we've got Miss Marvel coming as well on Disney Plus. That's going to be coming at some point soon as well. So it's just kind of getting them all dropped in. And then there was a little bit of news, not really much of it, just that the rights to Punisher and Jessica Jones are now back at Marvel, which again can only be a good thing. It means they've got complete control of it rather than it being sort of canon compared to like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and stuff like that. I watched Jessica Jones. I didn't watch Punisher, which apparently is really, really good. I didn't even know there were 2 series, but apparently
I must
brilliant.
admit I've seen a few episodes of each, but I haven't really delved into them properly.
Good.
But they've not made any announcements for like any actors returning to the MCU for them or anything like that yet. It is just still very, very early days. Obviously, apart from the rumours of Charlie Cox returning as Daredevil and Spider-Man.
If he Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
Wow, Spider-Man. There's so in Spider-Man 3, apparently Charlie Cox will be rocking up. But the thing is, if he is in it, even if it's just for 2 minutes as a cameo to act as Peter's lawyer, then surely that opens it. But the thing is, it opens up the door to Kristen Ritter and John Bernthal coming back as Punisher and Jessica Jones. But then it's like, does it? Because Iron Fist is a really good character, obviously MCU. Now again, I didn't watch Iron Fist on Netflix because the reviews were really not good.
Yeah,
and I really didn't hear good things. And I can't even remember the guy's name. He was from the guy who played Danny Rand, who was from Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
From what I'd heard, he was sort of one of the weak links in it, and he just wasn't a great Danny Rand. So, but then does that mean that if they bring in Kristen Ritter and John Bernthal, and we've got Charlie Cox back as well, we've either stuck with him playing Danny Rand, or we're just never going to get an Iron Fist because they don't fit. Because it'd be weird if you brought them back and then didn't bring him back, because it's gonna turn into like X-Men continuity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the last kind of news, but not news. Yesterday, I wrote it down because it all kicked off last night on Twitter, that apparently Jennifer Lawrence, according to the Daily Telegraph, which is pretty reputable in my opinion. I mean, I don't read it, but I would always understand the Daily Telegraph as being a pretty solid newspaper, in that it didn't just sort of like make up like the Sun. That Jennifer Lawrence is, don't sue me, son, and like anyone's going to be listening. Jennifer Lawrence was apparently in Australia, which is where the film and everything. It's like Australia and Atlanta seem to be the place where they filmed all the MCU films. So Thor is being filmed in Australia. They said that Jennifer Lawrence has flown over to Australia, just bluntly said to film Fantastic Four, which I think everybody assumed she's going to be Sue Storm, and there was people weren't happy because they don't want it to be Sue Storm, and I don't know whether it's that they don't want Jennifer Lawrence to be it, or everyone's got the heart set on Emily Blunt because they want John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. But I don't know. We had a chat about this before we started recording, which we probably shouldn't have done. But I don't like the idea. I like Jennifer Lawrence. I think she's a good actress, but
I think I'm too in love with the idea of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt playing the two roles.
You can't have one without the other, can you?
No.
You can't. It'd be weird. You couldn't have John Krasinski, because as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, this is legit, this. Oh, it's been debunked before. Sorry. Apparently, it's been debunked. Marvel have come out and stated that they've only just started interviewing writers for Fantastic Four, so they're nowhere near filming. So take that as being true, or whether they're just trying to sort of cover their asses because it's been leaked somehow.
Yeah.
But when I saw the news, I was just like, right, well, that means we've not got John Krasinski. That was my first instinct, that if they've not got Emily Blunt, they're not going to have John Krasinski. So I don't know whether they do. I don't know, she'd be a bit too young to be John Krasinski's missus in it. I don't know. I don't know how old she is, but she just looks. Yeah, I don't know. I think if they were going for Jennifer Lawrence, they'd be trying to put it. I think she's probably the same. She's probably like mid-30s, I would imagine, maybe early 30s. She's
probably not actually that far from Emily Blunt at this point, is she?
No, she probably isn't. But I just think I don't know, I always just see her as being quite a. And this isn't. It's not sort of like, it's not a dig at her. It's not a bad thing or anything like that. But I think if I saw her as being Sue Storm in the film, I would think, right, they're going for a young. Not as digging a hole here, aren't I?
No, I get
old.
It because the difference
but
is,
that's the view I'd take.
I know Emily Blunt from films as an adult. A lot of Jennifer Lawrence films, she's been late teens, early 20s. She's been younger, so I think you just kind of associate a lot of her work with a younger character than you would with Emily Blunt, and it's not their actual age. I think it's the portrayals that they've had in past roles. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. See, if it was Emily Blunt, I'd be saying. I mean, again, I don't know how old either of these people are, but I'd probably be saying if they were casting Emily Blunt, I'd probably be saying early to mid 30s Sue Storm, and if they cast Jennifer Lawrence, I'd be saying early 20s, and that'd be it. But then you'd be having an early 20s Reed Richards. So I don't know. I'm kind of glad that it's hopefully it's not her. Marvel might be covering the backside, but I don't know. She's a good actress, but. I just don't think she fits Sue Storm, and again, I think it's too soon from her being Mystique.
Yeah, definitely
for her to then come in as that. And then not last bit of news, but last bit of news before we get into another trailer. Umbrella Academy. Have you watched Umbrella Academy?
Yes, I've seen the first two series. Yeah. Really enjoyed it so far.
Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, some brilliant performances in there. It was announced a couple of weeks ago, that that season 3 had been greenlit. And now Elliot Page, who plays Vanya, has put on Twitter that it started filming. And there's a photo of a director's chair, confirmation that it started filming, and then there's a new logo as well, which is basically just the umbrella with the 3 in it, and then the sparrow on top. Because we're going to have the Sparrow Academy in this one, who we kind of met at the end of season 2, and we definitely saw alternate reality Ben, which is brilliant that Ben's back. But yeah, really good series. Really looking forward to season 3. I was a bit because of like COVID and stuff like that. It seemed to take quite a bit of time for them to confirm that season 3 had actually been greenlit or was coming. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely made up when that got confirmed. And then last bit of news, was that this week we got a Mortal Kombat trailer. Another trailer, 2 trailers in 1 week. I've asked you to watch, Anthony. Have you watched the Mortal Kombat trailer?
Yes, I have.
Way
didn't understand it. I'm not gonna lie, because I've never watched Mortal Kombat. I've never understood it. I actually even tried to.
You never seen the original film?
No, I tried to watch it yesterday, the 1995 one.
Wow.
I tried to watch it yesterday, and I was like,
that is brave.
That's brutal. And I got about 7 minutes in and was like, no, I need to stop. So
no, yeah.
I feel like I just need to go in with a fresh slate with the new one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you do. I think it's one of them things. It's like when there's a film that's so old and everyone who's watched it in 1995 is like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think if I watched it now, I'd still look at it with like rose-tinted glasses and be like, oh, that's fun, that's brilliant, that, because at the time it was. But I think if you try to watch it now, not watched it.
Yeah, I think it'd be like sitting there watching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers now and seeing Ivan Ooze come out and thinking, what the hell is going on here? It was that kind of...
No, I know.
Yeah.
Proper cheese.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought this looked decent though. Again, a lot, probably similar to what my expectations of when, the Justice League trailer. I thought, again, even though it's a classic film, the original Mortal Kombat from 95, and then they did Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I think, was the second one, and that was just awful. They didn't even get half the cast back, and the CG was bad, and the story was bad. Really? So I thought that this was... I didn't even know, up until about 6 months ago, maybe even sooner, that I didn't even know this was being made. And when I heard that they were making a live-action Mortal Kombat, I thought, this is going to be some like rubbish TV series that's, I don't know, on like CW or something like that in America. But it looks quite good. Again, do a bit of a breakdown on it. You've watched it, which is handy. The very beginning of it, in like the first, I know it was a red band trailer that they've released, which I think is good because you don't need to release a not R-rated trailer for a clearly R-rated film, do you?
Yeah.
Target your audience, and that's what they've gone. But just those first like 30 seconds, so it opens with Sub-Zero. So I was quite impressed that we saw him that early on, because obviously he's a big character. He's a big character, don't you? Sub-Zero. He's like he's one of like the most recognizable, apart from Scorpion, most recognizable characters from Mortal Kombat. Or do you really not know about Mortal Kombat?
I really don't know about Mortal Kombat at all.
Okay. So obviously in the game you had there's loads of characters like Liu Kang and Jax and Sub-Zero and Scorpion, but Sub-Zero and Scorpion are probably like the most recognizable. Scorpion probably more than most, who's like the yellow ninja. But I was quite surprised that we got him so early, because he's a big character. But it was just brutal. Like literally 30 seconds in, just freezes who we know is now Jax. Just freezes Jax's arms and just breaks him off within like the first 30 seconds or 10 seconds probably the trailer. It's just like I probably was hooked then. I was like, right, this is where this is going, is it? Yeah. This is going to be quite a gruesome, brutal film.
Yeah.
Obviously they started off with that. Apparently, Sub-Zero is going to be the main villain of the film. I've read, or the director has supposedly stated. So the director's a guy called Simon McCoy, and there was an interview with him. He basically did a breakdown of the trailer. And I'm not going to lie, I've got quite a lot of my notes from the breakdown of him, because I thought it was better to talk about the trailer than the guy who directed the trailer. We start off seeing Jax, who is, again, he's a character from the game. Don't think it was the first game, but maybe like 2 or 3 games in. He's got metal arms in the game, so this is how he gets his metal arms, clearly. And you see him later in the trailer as well. The guy, I thought it was quite interesting, because the breakdown of I think it was IGN did this breakdown of the trailer, and he starts off the director saying, we wanted to introduce Sub-Zero very early, and we wanted it to be quite shocking and be quite spooky how he turns up, and then he says, this is how we've decided that Jax is gonna lose his arms, because in the games there's been many games and there've been loads of different explanations as to how he lost his arms. So we thought it was okay to take some liberties and sort of change it up and come up with our own explanation as to how he loses his arms. And I thought, that sounds like a decent explanation for changing it. It's changed in the past and stuff like that. And then we get the next bit is we get a look at one of the main characters, who's a character called Cole Young. And again, there's been quite a lot of talk, because he's a completely new character. He's not been in the games at all. I think there's a bit of speculation that he might be somebody else, but he's apparently a completely new character. And the director's explanation was, well, it was, people were questioning why we were introducing a new character who no one's ever heard of as the main character. And we thought, well, Mortal Kombat games introduce new characters, so we thought it was okay to introduce a new character, and I just thought that's the crappiest explanation. That's just the shittest explanation for we'd introduce a new character, because people introduce new characters all the time, so we thought that was a decent explanation. I just thought, right, you've lost me now, mate. But yeah, he's a new character called Cole Young, sorry. And then we get a few other shots. We see a scene which has got he's an actor, Hiroyuki Sanada, who was the baddie in the Wolverine, or the bad guy in the Wolverine, which is obviously Hugh Jackman, which is all set in like Japan. He's playing Scorpion, but that scene where he's like in his house and all the ninjas are coming at him and he's got the rope with the dagger on the end, that is apparently the opening scene of the film, and that's showing how he becomes Scorpion. And then we get introduced to all the other characters who again are classic characters from the game. So we get Sonya, we get Kano who's like shooting his laser eye. I think he was more of like a bad guy from the games. I know he was I think he was in the first film. You probably saw him like in the first 7 minutes, but he's a bad guy in that. So he seems to be with the goodies in this. Goodies and baddies. Keep saying goodies and baddies. And then we see Liu Kang. We see Jax, who is Makad Brooks from Supergirl. He plays Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl, I think.
Oh, okay.
At least that's what it said on IMDb. If it is him, he's massive compared to what I've seen him on telly before. He looks like he's proper got like jacked. Should we use that word? He looks massive.
Yeah.
We see Scorpion, which again, the director, I don't know whether he let slip, whether he wasn't supposed to say this in the interview, but when you see Scorpion roll up and he's all like in his hood and he's got all like the fire around him and stuff like that, he said that's not what he looks like in the games. He's more of like a ninja rather than like a samurai in the games. And the director in the interview says this is the first version. I mean, sorry, the first time we see Scorpion, and I'm wondering, like, are we not? Maybe there is another version of. There must be. He must have let that slip, and there's another version, because in the games he's like, he becomes more like demon-esque, shall we say? Like he's got like a skull head and all that sort of stuff in the games at one point. So we see him, and then we see a really brief shot of Goro, who's the guy with the 4 arms. You see him like jumping up for a second. I'm just trying to explain this to you because obviously you've got no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then we see the fight with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, who are like the two of the biggest characters in the game. One bit that I thought was boss from the fight, again, how much detail you looked into it. There's a bit where Sub-Zero, the blue one. This is the blue one, Anthony. The blue one slashes Scorpion, and this blood like spurts out of Scorpion's arm, and Sub-Zero freezes it in midair and uses it as a dagger and stabs him with it. Amazing. I just thought I like that. I like that little bit of detail. And then we get Scorpion. You've heard Scorpion saying "Get over here," haven't you? You know that. That's a line from Mortal Kombat. Yeah. So he throws that in. And again, he throws that in. And then I think it finishes with Kano doing like a fatality. He's got someone's heart in his hand and he says, Kano wins, which is, again, it always comes up with the characters' names. But with like him throwing in like "Get over here" and Kano wins, again, I don't know whether he was trying to sort of justify it, but the director was very much saying, oh, don't worry, we're not just throwing these lines in willy-nilly or anything like that. We make sure that all these lines and all these elements from the games means something, so that it's not really cheesy and stuff like the first 2 films. Whether it is or whether he's just trying to cover himself, I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be quite interesting. I don't think I mean, if we're doing the podcast, we're probably gonna have to go to the pictures to watch it. But but yeah, I don't know if it'd be something I'd be like, oh, I need to go and see that day one. I think it'd probably be like wait for streaming or something like that. And I would imagine if you've never, as somebody who's not really been into the games and never, only watched the first 7 minutes of the original film, are you? I don't know. Do you think it's it? Do you look at it and think, that looks boss, I need to go and see it, not bothered, or just think, do you know what, if I wasn't doing a podcast, I wouldn't bother with it?
I mean, to be fair, I'm all about your action films and stuff like that. So anything with a damn good fight scene in usually tends to kind of tweak my interest. So seeing that kind of level, And I mean, obviously, I know that Mortal Kombat was a game, so when I say I didn't know anything about it, I knew that it was a game,
No, I know.
and I knew it was like a fighting one. I think probably the best description I knew is that it was something like Tekken, and it was just fighting in
Yeah.
arenas. So that was kind of as much as I knew, and I knew obviously about the fatality thing because my nephew is also obsessed with watching those videos and things like that. But they gave him
On
nightmares, so we had to
YouTube.
stop. Yeah. um, so so kind of that was probably as far as my knowledge went. But yeah, it's something that I'd definitely be interested in watching. It
Yeah.
looks like they've done quite a decent job with it. Whether they've just picked the best few scenes out of the whole film and just whacked it onto the trailer, I don't know, but only time will tell.
I would imagine you're probably along the right lines there. I don't think it's going to be like. I think it'll be good. I think it's going to be like a fun watch. I think it's going to be easy, isn't it? But it's not going to be. It's not going to. I doubt it's going to like set up a franchise or anything like that. Or I know obviously nothing's really doing big bucks at the box office at the moment, but I don't think it's going to. Be that big, but again, it's out quite soon. I think it's out April. I think it said in the trailer. Yeah, so again, that's quite soon. So again, will it? I think it's been pushed back a couple of times already. So I think it's quite, with it not being a huge film, it's quite brave to be releasing something like that now.
Yeah,
I think when you suppose when you've got like the likes of like Black Widow, like we talked about last week, potentially not releasing in May. I think trying to release something like that and expecting big money to come off it. I think it's quite big, but it's Warner Brothers, isn't it? It's Warner Brothers, so it's one of them ones that's coming to HBO. It's going straight to HBO Max in the States.
Right. Okay.
It's one of them like simultaneous releases, the same as Wonder Woman was, and the same as not the Snyder Cut, obviously, because that's just coming straight to streaming. But you know that bit of news, don't you, about all the DC films and the Warner Brothers films coming out on HBO Max at the same time?
Yeah, because there's been a lot of backlash
with
the theatres, haven't there, with all the cinema theatres and stuff.
Yeah. So it's one of them. So that's probably thinking about it. They'll get away with it to a degree. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all the news I've got this week. Isn't it anything else that you saw that you thought was? I mean, there's quite a lot there that we've thrown in, but
there has been loads. The only other thing I've got is just kind of the info on the Flash movie as well. Because we did very slightly touch on it before. Because obviously it's had a rough time so far because there's been people dropping out left, right, and centre. But it seems to be back on track now because they've released the first photo of people arriving on set. I think it was somebody outside one of the studios, like a long distance shot of them. We've also obviously now had the info that Sasha Calle has been cast as Supergirl. She's not got a lot of credits I looked through, but she's recently been in The Young and the Restless, which I've not watched. But she was. No, but
we've heard of it, haven't we?
Yeah, she's been in it for a couple of series, so it's not like just a small role or anything. So the rumor at the minute is just that it's based around the Flashpoint Paradox comics, which involves kind of time travel, him going back to save his mum. The problem being that when he comes back to kind of present day, the Amazons and the Atlanteans are at war. Bruce Wayne is dead because he was killed in the robbery instead of Thomas Wayne. So we've then got Thomas Wayne as a more violent version of Batman.
But that'll be amazing. But
that it would be quite cool if that's the way they did go. But
they're not going to, are they? Aren't they?
They'll probably have differences. Well, this is the thing, because we've now also been told that Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are slated to return as Batman.
Both of them, yeah.
Both of them, yeah. So what they're gonna do is a mystery at the minute. How they'll work that. I didn't know whether they might have done Michael Keaton like as a little tip and potentially put him as Thomas Wayne as Batman. That because with his age and things like that, I thought that might have been a route that they would go down. But obviously he'd played Batman in the past.
If we get it along the same lines of like, it's now Ben Affleck is not Batman because that version of Bruce died. You know who played his dad, don't you, in Dawn of Justice? In the scene, no. Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh yes, it was, yeah.
Which would be, I don't know which I want more. Do I want Michael Keaton?
Okay, yeah.
Or Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Batman with guns would just be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So yeah, I mean, there was even rumours that there may be a return of Danny DeVito as Penguin as well, but that is just rumours at the moment.
Yeah,
whether that's got any legs to it or not, I don't know. But yeah, there seems to be a fair bit of talk.
Yeah, it sounds really good, but then I've just got this sort of fear that we're going down the rushing to get their version of the multiverse again, I suppose.
Yeah,
But
and that's the other thing with kind of looking at these characters, picking favorite characters and then bringing them back to try and bring some nostalgia to try and get more viewers. That's the other thing
yeah,
that I'm worried about. If you're gonna do it, make sure that you give it justice. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it.
yeah,
But I mean, it's something that I'm interested in because I do want to know how they put Michael Keaton into it all. To be honest, I think you
yeah.
know, I like him as an actor, and if he's in it, then I do kind of want to see how it goes and how it pans out. So,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
probably the most. I mean, for me anyway, it's probably the most. Out of all the DC movies that are coming, but no, only going off like the rumors and what we think we know so far, it'd probably
yeah,
be my most anticipated DC movie. Again, it's not saying massive amounts because I think they've made a bit of a mess so far. And while I enjoy DC and I want to watch them, I've always got anytime anything comes out, it's like. Oh, is it going to be an absolute mess? I mean, like the Suicide Squad. I mean, it's James Gunn writing it and directing it, so it's like
yeah,
it's got that going for it. So,
yeah,
but then it's still in the back of my mind. It's Suicide Squad sequel. Do you know what I mean? Or is it a sequel? Is it a reboot?
yeah.
I don't think it's even been fully confirmed which way
No,
we're going with it. But it's just it's definitely interesting, and the fact that we've now got Sasha Calais, how you pronounce it, as Supergirl again. It's getting more full, the film,
yeah,
but in a good way. But I just hope, like you said, it's not just like let's throw as many characters in and as much nostalgia as we can throw in to
yeah,
get people to bite. Because don't get me wrong, I will. If there's all that if Michael Keaton's back as Batman, like an
yeah,
older Batman, I'll be all over that because it'd be really, it'd be fun to see that. Even if they don't get like Danny DeVito back and stuff like that, it'll
yeah,
still be really interesting to see and really exciting. But will it just be, oh, that was really interesting, we got Michael Keaton back and we got loads of cameos, and then I'm not really interested in the next DC film because even though it was fun, it was an absolute mess. And I
yeah.
think that's where they just need to. And again, I don't know, I can't remember the name of who's been attached to it, but I know they've had multiple directors leave the project.
Yeah.
And they've obviously got their issues with casting. Like, I mean, Ezra Miller had like
I
a
think
massive.
it's Barbara. Is it Muschietti or something like that now? I think she's the one that's
Don't
taken the
know.
helm now for it. But so she's the one that's. I think it was her that may have posted the actual set photo.
Okay, so well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I'll be a lot more comfortable when we get not even just casting, because I think I'd be surprised now if we don't get confirmation that Michael Keaton's going to be Batman. But
Yeah,
like a trailer. Let's see a trailer and let's get a bit of an idea as to where the film's going. And then we'll sort of we'll see from there. Anything else? Anything else you've seen?
No,
We've
that's
covered
pretty
all the
much it,
big
I think.
news.
Yeah.
Sound. Okay, so we are now just over 45 minutes in, and we've not talked about Wandavision yet. So we'll put the little thing in the little description in the description to say when we start talking about Wandavision. So yeah, let's get into Wandavision. It'll be quicker this week because we haven't got 6 episodes worth to go over. But yeah, I think let's do same again like we did last week. Just let's talk through it. Start from the top and finish where it ended. So we didn't go straight into an intro this week. We started with the clip that was released by, I think it was Good Morning America earlier, or I think it's Thursday. They released this little clip, didn't they? Which is basically Wanda in bed and instantly, which will come on to the intro in a second, which surprised me a little bit, the intro, but I think everybody thought we were just going into a Modern Family parody. And don't get me wrong, it was a Modern Family parody, wasn't it, to a degree? But the intro took us a different way. But instantly, we were straight into Modern Family, which is brilliant. And I think everyone sort of likes.
It was
the
even
fact that
down
we're going
to
down that route.
Yeah, it was even down to like the birds tweeting in the background when they're talking to the camera and stuff like that. I was like,
Yeah.
it really, really worked on it to make sure that it's there.
Yeah. No, I think if you're going with a modern, I get the impression this is going to be like our last sitcom type parody. And obviously we'll touch on that at the end, but I think this is going to be the last one where we're sort of parodying anything, any type of sitcom. So they needed to get Modern Family into it. So obviously we open with Wanda in the bed talking to the camera. She's had a rough night, shall we say, and we get the flashback of everybody running away from the hex getting bigger. And we get a bit of comedic music when everyone's running around and screaming and stuff like that. I think from memory,
there was kind of like a humorous tone, like it was. What did I get up to? How drunk was I last night? It was that kind of.
That's where they were going. That's where they were going with it, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we get Billy and Tommy coming in, saying that they need help because their game's freaking out. And again, we see that, and that's like whereas everything's been jumping forward like a decade an episode. Everything seems to be sort of retracting back to the 50s slowly. Yeah. Oh no, quickly. Sorry, because it's like 1 second we've got it as like a Nintendo Wii, and then we go to a GameCube, and it goes back to Uno cards. So we get that. So that's the first. That's the first inkling that something's going wrong. What made it go wrong? I don't know. Where is it? The fact that she made the hex bigger, and whoever is controlling it can't cope with that much. I don't know, or whether it's all sort of messing with Wanda's head. And then Billy says that his head's really noisy, and I assume that's because there's more people in the hex.
Yeah.
There's more people in there, and they're all like screaming to get out. We see the milk. That's another little nod that something's going wrong, so that she pulls out the milk and it goes to like a 1950s bottle of milk. I say black and white milk, it's white, isn't it? But we go back to old school milk, and she even smells it to make sure that it's not like really old. And then we get the intro, which was exactly, and then we get the intro, which again surprised me. I enjoyed it because it was The Office, but it was just The Office. It was just the American Office, the intro. Just basically Wanda. And
did you notice the little nod to Stan Lee as well?
No, I didn't. Was there a Stan Lee nod in there?
Yeah. So because obviously it was all in different ways. When it does what looked like a license plate, the numbers above Wanda was 122822, which is Stan Lee's date of birth, 28th of December 1922.
You Googled that, didn't you? Don't tell me you knew that.
No, well, I was looking at the stories and stuff, and obviously, someone had pointed it out, and I was like, "That's really cool." To be fair,
I didn't even twig onto that. Didn't even think to look. I mean, don't wrong. Like I've done like research on the episode, and Google things, and like the ransom note, like what the ransom note thing said. But no, I didn't even come across that. That's good. That's a nice little nod, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we got the ransom note one. So one of them, it looked like a ransom note anyway. It was all sorts of like newspaper cuttings, and it said, it was on the screen very, very quickly, so I couldn't even catch it on pause. But it basically said, "I know what you're doing, Wanda," which doesn't really make sense now that we've seen the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I was quite surprised. It's like, are we seriously trying to still convey at the start of this episode that we all think Wanda's doing this? Because surely it's pretty obvious now that, I mean, it was obvious at the start of the episode that something, to me anyway, that it's not Wanda. It wasn't Wanda doing it, but I don't know whether that's what they were still trying to push. And then again, at the end of it, it said, when it came up with Wanda and then Vision came down to make it Wandavision, it said created by Wanda Maximoff. And it's like, are we clearly they're still trying to push the idea that it was Wanda doing it. But we still got the little squiggly things on the eye again, which I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'm again, different logo, different intro, and everything like that. But it's still that one thing which is the same of how the Wandavision logo works. So
do you reckon that could be something to do with Billy? With the fact that one of his things seems to be that he's a telepath, that he can hear people's thoughts and stuff like that. And with it being kind of like the radio waves thing, it might mean that Billy's got a bigger role than we've initially kind of. I mean, at the minute we're just seeing them as kids, but are they going to have a bigger role towards the end of this? Is something going to happen that?
Well, I've got a theory, but we'll do it at the end. We'll think, because we don't know, do we? But maybe it's something to do with that. because it's like he's kind of like one. I don't know the full powers of like Wiccan. Obviously, Tommy is speed and he's just got Quicksilver's powers. But I always just thought, and I know Wanda is has got telepathic powers, hasn't she? But he seems to be more heavily focused on the telepath side of things than the telekinetic side of things. So maybe. So after the intro, we go to the sword base. And we're only there for like a minute, or the new sword base, because we see Hayward. I think it's the only time we see Hayward in the entire episode.
I think it is, yeah.
This is all part of my theory, so I'll come back to we'll do Nick's weird theory, Nick's ridiculous theory of the week after we do the episode, shall we? He basically said he's asking what's going on. One of his sword agents is obviously talking to him, and he asks if the broadcast's still going, and the broadcast has stopped. I didn't twig onto that until the second time I watched the episode. The broadcast now stopped. Why the broadcast stopped makes me wonder what was the point in the broadcast in the first place. If whoever's doing this, potentially who we now know at the end of the episode, if they're going to stop it now, why have they stopped it, or why were they doing it in the first place if they now seem to be okay stopping the broadcast, but it stopped. And then he says, go and get everything ready, or we're nearly ready. We launch today. And I thought there's going to be more on this. Clearly there will be more on it, but I thought there'd be more in the episode. But that's literally the only time we hear that, and it's the only time we see Hayward. And again, this
to be fair,
forms part of my ridiculous theory.
Well, I was going to say our theory last week was that we wouldn't see outside the bubble this week, and that was wrong.
Did we say that we wouldn't see outside the bubble? we did, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we
thought we wouldn't find out.
It might have been heavily focused on Darcy going into the bubble and her experience in there, didn't we? Before we then kind of went back out, because we didn't think that we were going to find out straight away who the Monica's
but did we? We didn't really, kind of. I hope we didn't.
I think we didn't.
I think we did. I think that's it, and I'll tell you why when we get there. But I hope we haven't. Talking about Darcy, I'm gutted she wasn't a waitress called Max, because that would have just been. But maybe not enough people watch Two Broke Girls. But I thought they missed a trick there. But I had the, obviously, because we go to Darcy after that, or we go to Vision, waking up in the circus. But I was talking to somebody on Twitter, and they were saying, like, because we were saying, I think I was having like a conversation with them and talking about how it'd be good if she was a waitress called Max. And I did say, I wonder if the fact that she's handcuffed to the car will come into it, and that'll be something to do with it, like the sword agent all turns to clowns. And I thought she maybe be a cop or something. But obviously they did use it, but they used it to make her an escape artist. So I thought that was quite good as well. And then I also know, which again has been pointed out to me, the guy who comes up with, like, I think he's got H or S. Has he got H or S on his? He looks like a wrestler or something, like a strong man. He's the guy who handcuffed her to the car. So the guy running the circus is the sword agent who handcuffed her to the car in the last episode. She what? I can't remember what I was going to say now. I've got it all written down. Oh, I think there's only like a brief. I think that's only like a brief conversation at that stage that those two have, and then we go back to Wanda at her house. And the kids ask where the dad is, and he's saying that, and she says if he doesn't want to be here, then he doesn't have to be. Which again, it's like, why have we got? I missed
very
that.
Sudden turn of like.
Where did we get that he doesn't want to? Yeah, where did we get that he doesn't want to be here? And is it just because she knows he tried to escape West? Maybe it's just because she knows that he tried to get out of Westview, and she thinks he doesn't want to be here anymore. Thought it was quite interesting as well, because I think Tommy asks, "Where's Uncle P?" And Wanda says, like, don't trust that man, or don't listen to anything that man says. He's not really your uncle. So again, it's like, it feels like we've missed stuff. It's like, how have we got? And I know she got pissed off with him and pushed him away and stuff like that, or threw, flung him across the circus. But have we gone from? I don't get how we've got to that point where she's like, oh, he's not your uncle. And I know she was testing him in the last episode, but I thought he'd sort of won her over. I
don't know whether we're going to get, not as a part of the main story, but at some point whether we'll get a little flashback to the events that happened kind of through some of that and some of the bits that we may have missed. especially because of obviously the twist at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's going to kind of jump back to little sections where it's like, well, remember, you know what I mean? Like
I think
nothing
we've
massive.
got to, haven't we? We've got to get more of an. I mean, I know the what we get at the end, which is absolutely brilliant, but
Yeah.
it sort of very very quickly explains what's happened or what the gist of what's happening is. But surely we're going to get like a bit more. We're going to obviously have to get an explanation as to what's happening, but hopefully we'll get more of an explanation as to the detail, and it doesn't really spoil. I'm not obviously. We didn't do a spoiler warning, but surely everybody who's listening to this has watched it, all 10 of you.
Yeah.
Who I just think I don't think that, and I thought I'd sort of got to that point anyway, maybe throughout the episode or before the episode, but I'm now starting to think that maybe like Pietro, the fact that he looks like Evan Peters is just a complete coincidence. And it's just sort of keeping Marvel fans happy and keeping the people who know a lot about the MCU. Something to go, oh yeah, that he's that, because nobody else, from what we've seen so far, nobody else in Westview is not, apart from the obvious, isn't somebody from Westview. Nobody else. Everybody is somebody from Westview has been recast, which they keep saying. So is he just somebody who she's decided I'll cast him as Pietro, because the silver hair doesn't have to mean anything because they've all got different hair every episode. Look at Herb, do you know what I mean? He's got like an afro one episode and then the next episode he hasn't. So it's like, is he just a random, or is he the missing person? Because he could be the missing person, because I don't think from what we've seen, because when he gets cast, that whole last episode when he was in it, the Halloween episode, Jimmy Woo, who has obviously gone in looking for him, he's like really busy all the way through and he doesn't get a chance to sort of stop and look, and I don't even think at any point he sees him on the screen. So it's like, does anybody actually know that he's not the missing person who Jimmy Woo went looking for from the start? I don't know, but I think it's more. I think Wanda said it really well in the last episode when she sort of implied that he might be a red herring. Maybe he is a complete red herring, and it's just he's just a complete random from Westview who, from our perspective, just happens to look like Evan Peters, and that's it. But we digress loads. So Agnes rolls up. Catherine Hahn, amazing again. She rolls up. She offers to look after the twins, which obviously Wanda's buzzing about. And again, quite telling now, I suppose. She says, "Oh, don't worry, I won't bite." And then she gets a little interview and she goes, "I actually did bite a kid once." And now that's a bit like, oh, okay, I get where you're going with this one. And then again, she asks Wanda to check out to see if there's a mole on her back. And now looking back at that, it's like, is that like a little hint? Is that a hint at where we're going?
Did you also hear as she walks out the door, she asks the kids if they'll check
the kid? Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I thought that. But again, watching the first time, you're just like, oh, it's a bit weird, but yeah. And then we get Wanda again. So she's in the house on her own now. And she starts again. Everything in the house starts changing, reverting back to the 50s. And I think she corrects it. I think the TV turns back to the 50s, and she turns it back to like 2000s or whenever it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then so then we go back. So then we go to Monica and Jimmy, arriving at what just looks like another mini sword base. I was dead excited, and then when she says hello to Major Goodner, I'm like, what? Where's John Krasinski? Exactly. And again, this is something else. And this guy messaged me on Twitter after the episode, because I'd said, I bet we get there and it's just some complete random who we've never heard of and we don't know. I'm joking, and it is some complete random who we've never heard of and we don't know. But before they get there, when they pull up, Jimmy obviously gets the email from Darcy. And I think that's how he knows. I don't think he knows at that point Darcy's in the hex, but he gets the email from Darcy, and it basically sets out Project Cataract, which is that Hayward is trying to recommission Vision because he wants his sentient robot back. basically.
Yeah.
And again, I've got stuff to say on that, but I'm going to leave it all until my ridiculous theory at the end, and we'll come back to that. So then, they roll up, and there's and obviously that's why he's tracking. That's why they're tracking Vision, because he wants his weapon back. So then we meet Major Goodner. And again, I think this is quite telling. Now, this isn't part of my random theory, but I think this is why I think that we're not going to have anybody else being the aerospace engineer, but I think there's more to it, because she says my mother would have appreciated your loyalty, and then that Major Goodner says she's not the only one we're loyal to, and I think that's at face value. I think you're supposed to take it that obviously they're loyal to Monica, but then if you read into it, though I've probably read into it too much, but she texts them like a night before or the day before. And now they've rolled up with what is apparently the most up-to-date, or the most solid piece of tech that they've got that's going to be able to break through the side of the hex very, very quickly. And there's obviously a large group there. And I think, which I've seen online as well, I think they're Skrulls. I don't think that's Sword. I think they're a group of Skrulls. Maybe they are part of Sword, but I think they're Skrulls. And that's why I think if they are Skrulls, that's why she was being sketchy about who the aerospace engineer is, and not just I know a general or I know somebody or I know a team or I've got a team on the side or anything like that. I think that's why she's being sketchy about it, because she obviously knows that they're a group of Skrulls. But if that is the case, I don't think we're going to get anybody else being the aerospace engineer. But I think it'll just boil down to who we find first. I think at some point, if they are Skrulls, we'll find out before the end of the season. And if we find out that there is another aerospace engineer who's designed that, then I'd take that as they're probably not Skrulls, and I'm just reading too much into it. And then we go to Vision and Darcy again. She still seems to think that he's trying to ask her out, which I thought was quite good. I like that. I like that little way that they were going. And then again, he does that thing where he wakes her up. He just again touches her head, which I kind of like. I kind of liked how quickly she got brought back to being real Darcy, but I would have quite liked to see not real Darcy a little bit more.
There was a big difference though, because if you look at everybody else that went into the hex, they've all got that sitcom-y hi neighbor kind of attitude, whereas Darcy still had that dry sarcasm, self-deprecation at times, like all that kind of stuff. She kind of had that same personality that Darcy's always had, so I didn't notice that she kind of had that difference from any of the other cast, as you would say.
I know. So. But then, is it because, and this is just literally just popped into my head now, I think Kat Dennings is brilliant. I think she's she's a dead good actress. I think the character she plays in pretty much everything I've ever seen her in is quite sarky, like Darcy.
Yeah.
But it's really funny and is always like she's a standout character in everything she's in. But then I'm like, is it just because that's all she can play? Because have you ever seen her play anything else, and is it just that that's the only way that she could do it? But either way, she was really good. Obviously, then she wakes up, or Vision wakes her up. She knocks out the Sword Agent, which again, as I said, is the guy who handcuffed her to the car in the first place, which was quite good because she got sort of her own back on him. And then they get in the van, and again, Vision says we need to go and get her. We need to go back to Wanda, get back to the house, and get them all away from that imposter Pietro. Which again is like, how is it? He wasn't even there for any of that, or is he just suspicious of Pietro that he's not real? Again, just maybe. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, because he was suspicious at the time that he turned up at the front door just as they were having their argument, didn't he? So
yeah.
It might just be following on even from that, and he thinks that
he just thinks
now that he's seen the outside, there's more to it, and that's made him more suspicious of everything.
Yeah,
don't know.
Maybe. Well, it was good. Yeah, okay, sound. And then I think further down the line, we see more that things are blocking him, but again, we come back to that. We go back again, quite a lot of jumping around in this one. We go back to Wanda's house, or Wanda and Vision's house. Loads going wrong in the house. Everything keeps moving about in the reverting back to the 50s or reverting back through time. We even see the stalk from the episode with the baby, where she has the babies pop up and disappear and pop up and disappear. And then I think there's like a couple of little interviews with Wanda, and then the last one, she's saying, I don't know why this is all happening to me. I don't know what's going on. And then we hear the director or whoever it is. I say the director because we kind of know, but we hear whoever at that time is supposed to be recording her or interviewing her she says, do you think that maybe this is what you deserve? Which I, again, didn't really get onto the fact. I think the first time I watched it, I was just like, wow, someone's talking to her. Why are they? And then she even questioned, she's like, you're not supposed to talk. Somebody online has doubled the pitch, I think it is, on that. And it is and I know we know who it is, but okay, well, obviously spoilers for it. It is Catherine Hahn. It's just like, it's not even like another person, because I thought it sounds like a bit of a weird bloke, but it is just Catherine Hahn sped up or slowed down even. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. Saying, do you think this is maybe what you deserve? Which again comes back to one of my random ridiculous theories, but we'll go. Let's do the theories at the end. You do your theories, and I'll do my theories. And then we get an advert. We get another advert. We've got the same woman who we'd missed in the last week's episode, who's been in all of them, and it's an ad for Nexus, which is an antidepressant. I think that's the way it seems to be. That's the way it seems to be going. I think I think this advert seemed to still fall along the lines of going through like something in Wanda's life, because it was sort of saying that if you're in a really sad place, take Nexus and it'll make you happy and all that sort of stuff, and don't worry what's happening, or you can be any reality or something like that. So I thought that was sticking to the theme of it's all stuff that's happened and it's Wanda's story the adverts are telling. That I couldn't see, and I haven't seen anywhere online or anything like that, any reference to any of the Infinity Stones. As soon as I started watching it, I was like, right, where can we get an Infinity Stone reference here? But what about you? Could you take any element of that to be anything to do with an Infinity Stone?
No, not really. I think I got a theory from somebody that one was the Reality Stone, and maybe there was some confusion with some of the earlier ones. But I really, honestly, my own opinion is that I felt like I was really trying too hard to associate them with anything. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's just a focus on latest events, because it says one of the side effects of this can be further depression.
Yeah, I saw
whether
that
you noticed that at the end of it, like, and it's like, she's in this world now that she's created to be happy, like the pill. However, she's not.
Yeah,
she's not. You can see she's not, because she's fighting so hard to keep what she wants, and this whole day where she's like, I just need some time to myself because this is all too much for her. And I think I don't know. It's the only thing that I can think of how it's supposed to actually associate it with the rest of the episode.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Well, I think I did again doing a little bit of research on it, because I thought Nexus is a bit of and I thought, have we heard Nexus before?
I was thinking that as well.
MCU, and apparently there's a couple of things that could there's a couple of things in the comics that use the name Nexus. There's like a nexus of each being. There's Nexus beings or something like that, like a different person in every reality. I think there's something else as well, but there is actually something in the Marvel comics called the Nexus of all realities, and it is basically a gate. It's a gateway. The Nexus is a gateway that will take you that you can use to travel to any reality in the multiverse. So I think
this, then again, another link to Doctor Strange 2, which we know
which I think being tied to it. And again, but then that potentially ties back to Pietro maybe being Pietro from another universe, because I think that's where everyone's sort of, maybe people who are just watching one, because there's obviously a lot of people watching Wandavision. Like we said last week, it's the most watched TV series in the world at the moment. So surely not everybody watching it is doing the research. Like they're not all sad like us and doing the research every week and going through it in detail. They're probably just taking it as face value and probably watching every episode and going, what the bloody hell's going on here, sort of thing. But maybe it is sort of like a teaser for them to be like, oh, maybe it is something to do. Oh, I missed that. It was kind of giving it away. Because to me, it's too obvious. But that could just be because we're so into it, and we look for the detail, and we probably knew a little bit before going in anyway. But that's potentially where that is. After the advert, we go straight to Agnes's house, which is where, and the kids are both there. Billy's got like Senor Scratcher or the rabbit, which obviously we see later on. And again, he says to her that he likes it at her house because it's quiet. And then he says, Agnes, your head's really quiet. And knowing what we know at the end, even off that, I was like, that surely shows that Agnes she's not somebody. He's saying everybody else in the town has got somebody in their head, which Vision's been waking up, screaming inside, watching, pretty much just watching what's going on and watching their body being acted out, and they're calling out inside the head for help. And he's just made her. He's basically just made her and said, I know you're not one of these people screaming inside. And I think she looks at the camera, and I know there's a lot of fourth wall breaks in this one because of the concept and the fact it's a parody of Modern Family, but she seems quite shocked that and she looks at the camera and is basically
talk about Ralph at that point.
She talks about Ralph at that point as well, but she kind of looks at the camera as if to be like, he's
language.
He's got me. So again, that was quite telling as well. We then get to we go back to Jimmy and Monica, and she's all suited up in the let's call it like a wagon, or some sort of vehicle or whatever to get through. And then I think that's when Jimmy seems to confirm that they know Darcy's in there, and she like makes a comment saying, oh well, don't worry, I'll get her out. And again, bit where Sword's supposed to be going, or what it's supposed to be for, but she said the colonel, or the army woman, Major Goodner, I think her name is, says that it's almost heavily armored space rover. And again, I was a bit like, why have you got heavily armored space rovers if you Sword? And I know it's got Sword written all over it, but I just thought, maybe that again implies that it's not what we think it is. She tries to drive through the side of the hex, doesn't work. It starts trying to rewrite the space rover, and it gets kicked out. And then that's when Monica, she obviously doesn't sacrifice herself, but she goes down the route of trying to, she goes in, doesn't she, at the end of the day. And then we see her fighting it. So I think we see glimpses of her in the show as Geraldine. We see and hear young Monica from Captain Marvel, her mum, and I'm sure I heard Carol Danvers talking in there as well, just as she sort of changes. Did you hear Carol in there as well?
That's what, do you know what I was trying to discern that when I was listening to it all? I was like, are we getting flashbacks from everywhere? Is this her entire life? So I was like trying to listen out to see whether we did hear anything. Because obviously, again, one of the big things that we know is that Monica's relationship with Carol's changed, hasn't it?
There's something going on there. Yeah.
So yeah,
well, that was good. Yeah, that was good. It was a bit like bit Last Jedi-ish. With all the Jedi at the end, and then we see her, and it's trying to rewrite her, isn't it? Trying to rewrite her and pull her apart, and then her eyes go blue, and she basically bursts through, and she can see her vision when her eyes glow blue is something weird going on. So she's obviously now got powers. Or she's got her powers. She's a superhero. So in the comic, she's been a few different, or she's always had the same powers, but she's had a few different names. So before Carol Danvers became Captain Marvel, she was Captain Marvel first. So she was the second Captain Marvel after the male Captain Marvel. But I think then she became Photon and Spectrum, and her powers, which I think you can see are probably the way they're going with the show, are that she can see and turn into hundreds, thousands of different forms of energy. So she could just turn into radiation or turn into electricity, and she can go invisible, different forms. She can, you wouldn't be able to see her because you can't see her. But it did look like she could see like the energy coming off like the electricity pylons and stuff. One thing that, because I read a bit into it today to sort of, I had an idea as to what her powers were, but read into it a bit today. And as well as turning into these different forms of energy, she can completely manipulate them. So it means she'll be able to like manipulate electricity. Whether she can manipulate the hex or manipulate Wanda's energy, telekinetic energy, I don't know. But one of the things that it did say is that she can manipulate gamma radiation. And obviously we're getting a She-Hulk TV series or series on Disney Plus. So straight away I was like, is that potentially how we're going to get She-Hulk, because she could manipulate the gamma radiation? Is she in there? Is she already in there, or is that we've talked about potentially? I don't know. Did we talk on the podcast last week about potential X-Men being in there? I don't think we did we? I think that was me and you having a conversation.
We touched on the potential of mutants and stuff, and whether this would be the introduction, because then we talked about the fact that they wouldn't be doing Wolverine this soon.
Yes, we did, yeah.
So yeah, but I don't think we kind of went into any kind of depth with it.
Well, let's do that. Let's do that at the end with our theories then. Yeah, should we do that?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so after we see her get in, and then she takes off her suit and runs to Wanda's house, we go back to Vision and Darcy, pretty much just getting stopped from getting to Wanda. Whoever is controlling it is trying to stop them getting back, because they don't want Vision getting back. And then Darcy in the van is like fully filling in Vision on what's happened. I think we come in mid conversation, but she's explaining that Vision was made by Ultron, or he was Jarvis, and he was supposed to be Ultron's body, and they put Jarvis in Ultron, so he's kind of part of Ultron and all that sort of stuff. And I think she even goes into the fact that, which is really detailed again for Darcy to know, in my opinion, that Wanda killed him, and then Thanos used the time stone to rewind time, and then she had to watch him die again. And again, I was sitting there thinking, like we talked about last week, they seem to know quite a lot about things that they weren't there. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, when I'm going off on one again here, but when Wanda killed Vision and then Thanos killed Vision, no, I know there were other people there, but no one was there because Thanos had pretty much knocked everybody else out. So the only people, in my opinion, or in my thought, who saw that happen twice was Wanda. She's the only person who was there. And at this point, she's only been back for that. To her, that was weeks ago. And Vision actually says that. He says, to me, I can't remember anything that was happening, but to Wanda, this was mere weeks ago. So who's told Darcy what happened? Has Wanda done interviews and explained to everybody what happened after? It just feels like she knows, like they did in the like we said in the last episode, she knows a lot of detail about things that have happened during battles and stuff like that. So again, probably going too much into it, but yeah. And then what we do get in there is we get like a little look to the camera by Vision, which is just looks like John Krasinski in The Office, which I think is what they were going for. But it's just absolutely spot on. And then we go to Monica rocking up at Wanda's house. And then she's obviously got the power. Monica's got her powers now. She has a bit of a fight, not a fight, but she stands up to Wanda to the point where I thought they were going to have a bit of a fight, which was would have been quite good to see. And I think she explains in there. She says Hayward's going to burn Westview to the ground with you in it, and he's using you to do it. And then Agnes rolls up and quickly we now know why takes Wanda away from the situation. We go back to Vision again quite quickly. He's being interviewed, and at that point I was like, who's he being interviewed by? Or is he being interviewed? Is it just the broadcast, but the broadcast isn't going on, but who is he being interviewed by? And then he flies off which I did think from the start, why didn't he just fly off? Why didn't he fly from the start? And then nearly wrapping it up, we go back to Agnes's house. So Agnes has taken Wanda back to her house, and then Wanda sees the kids half-eating sandwiches and drinks and kids' TV, and then she seems to sort of twig onto the fact that where are the kids? And we still don't know where are the kids, but where are they? Agnes sends her down into the basement, and that's when it all kicks off, shall we say? Even the aspect ratio on the TV was, when I was watching it, slowly changed, and we went to a really wide angle.
I noticed that as well.
Just like mood straight away, wasn't it? It was like, right, we're going to establish that this is moody and dark. And she goes down into the basement, and it looks like some sort of like temple-y church type thing. And there's a book in there, which I think people are speculating is a book called The Darkhold. Which is a really powerful, really powerful book. Basically, it's the book of spells in the Marvel universe. You've watched haven't you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I haven't watched it all the way through. Apparently the Darkhold is in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's a big plot point at some point in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that's why but it looks completely different to this. So I think people have said that if that book turns out to be the Darkhold, it's the final nail in the coffin that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon, because it's a completely different book in that. And then Agnes rolls up, or it's not Agnes, it's Agatha Harkness as she introduces herself, holding Senor Scratchy. And then we get the best theme song out of the entire series so far. It's amazing. Which is where you got episode 2 of our podcast. I was going to say, from before.
It's just the Munsters. Since that happened, the Munsters theme tune has just been running round in my head the whole time, and I just made a joke that should be my theme. And
we should do that every week, a different theme tune every week until we finally come to one that doesn't make me embarrassed.
That doesn't make me want to cry after I've done it.
But yeah, it was boss. So we saw the whole the theme tune was amazing. Catherine Hahn in it is just amazing. All the mannerisms, she doesn't even talk apart from the very end, which we'll get to in a sec. She doesn't even talk all the way through. But faces, it's just
isn't it?
It's the facial expressions is just amazing. So we get her rolling up. We kind of see the bottom of a witch's costume.
Yeah.
When she lands in the 50s, which I know everybody obviously wants to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
We see her. What do we see? We see her doing something to Herb when they have that conversation, which we touched on last week. Which I was saying, like, obviously Agnes doesn't know what's going on. Clearly she does. We see her controlling Pietro at the door. Yeah. Which again is that really Pietro? Is it just some random from Westview? We see her being the director in the director's chair, which we knew anyway because of the voice.
Yeah.
And then we find out she killed Sparky.
Yeah.
Which I thought was I was gutted, obviously horrible, but brilliant. I killed Sparky too, and then starts laughing. It was just like
that cackle, by the way. That is such a brilliant melodramatic villain laugh. Like I was living for that moment. I just thought it was amazing.
She is absolutely brilliant. And then we got Please Stand By, which is the worst bit of the episode every week.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was good to get one, but quite bad because we got an after credits scene and we haven't had an after credits in the end of any episode so far. We're 7 episodes in it. At least I don't think we have. I don't think I've missed one. But I think for the first like 4 or 5 episodes, I sat and watched it right till the end of the credits.
Just to check.
Even all the foreign language credits at the end, which go on for about 15 minutes. I watched all of them because I was like, we're going to get something. There must be an after credits. And I think it was only because I don't even think I was planning on watching it all the way through. It was just sat on the telly. And then it popped up at the end and I was like, all right, they're throwing this in. It was quite brief. It was obviously just Monica. She's got full power. I say full power, but she's got the power that she's got turned on because her eyes were glowing blue. Making her way down to the basement, so she's followed Wanda and Agnes there, and then just as she's opened it and it's about to go down, we get the first appearance of Pietro in the episode. Yeah. And again, we don't know. I was kind of expecting him to hit her over the head or something. Did you say Snoop is going to snoop? He says, but I don't know whether he didn't seem like he was attacking her or anything like that. He could have, for all we know, he could literally just be
there.
What are you doing? Sort of, yeah, like, you know, just rolling up.
Yeah.
Basically. But yeah, before we get on to the theories, really good episode. I don't think it was. I wasn't disappointed until the end, but I was thinking all the way through. I think when we didn't get John, not that I was dead set on John Krasinski, but when we didn't get anything from the aerospace engineer, and the whole episode up until it was Agatha all along was a bit slowish. We didn't really get anything. It felt a bit fillery again. I was a bit, this isn't the best episode ever. This is like just padding for obviously like the big finale. But that just completely redeemed it. It was similar to Pietro. Yeah, it was brilliant. So really good episode. Should we do? We're gonna have to do this in every episode, even when we're not talking about Wanda. Nick's ridiculous theory of the week. So my ridiculous theory of the week, before we get onto the X-Men theory, which I think is probably where it's going. It's one theory, but it's not. I think that there's two stories going on here. Yeah. I think that there's Agatha's story. Yeah. And then I think there's the Sword / Hayward story, which I think that's a different story and a different plan that's been going on, and they've just this is just where they happen to be. So from the Hayward point of view, I think Disney and Marvel have been completely. You're watching it on Disney. You're not doing anything naughty, are you, Andy?
No, I'm watching it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people won't be. They'll just be watching it on like torrent sites and stuff like that. But I think at the end of every episode, it obviously when you watch anything on Disney, it shows you, watch this suggestion, and at the end of every single episode of WandaVision, it suggests you watch Age of Ultron, and it's got a big picture of Ultron, and I think that is Disney trolling us now, and I think they've basically had one of the big bads from the series who we've all been trying to guess who it is at the end of every episode, just like in your face, this is who it is. And I don't just think that's random or that's what they're doing sort of thing. I think the reasons behind it are, there's a couple. And I know Ultron is a big part of Vision's backstory, and Vision's trying to remember who he is, but there's a lot of mentions of Ultron all the way through this. We're constantly being reminded by characters, by Darcy, by Vision, by Monica when she's Geraldine, about the fact that Ultron's there. And we even get the flashback before on the episode after Pietro, again referring back. And again, the fact that they're using Pietro could in itself be a reference back to Ultron. But we know that Hayward is after this Operation Cataract, and we know that's the plan, and that's why he was tracking Vision the whole time. And I know last week I said I think he's Mephisto. Vision is Mephisto. I don't think that. I don't know necessarily why he can't leave the hex, because even Darcy asks at one point, I can't figure out why you can't leave the hex and everybody else can. But I think what's happening is that Hayward is trying to recommission Vision because he wants Ultron, or he's planning on putting Ultron back in him. And I think Hayward might even be Ultron. He might be Ultron in disguise, because apparently in the comics he's taken human form, or he's had a human disguise, hologram or something Ultron, like that. Wasn't it?
That was his aim.
To be closer to human. Yeah. But which is what Vision is supposed to be. But it could be hologram or anything like that. But that's why I think that this whole thing, and the reason they're tracking Vision, is because what they were looking to do is somehow Vision is still Ultron is still about. He's survived somewhere, whether it was in a floppy disk or a USB drive or anything like that. That's all he'd need. He's still alive somewhere, and he somehow managed to manipulate it enough so that the plan is that once Vision was just a body, and Jarvis, because at the end of the day it was the Mind Stone that was holding Jarvis. They even said in Infinity Stone, if we remove the Mind Stone, it'll kill Vision. Yeah. And Shuri was trying to do a lot of work to make that not happen, to sort of retain his personality. Yeah. And I think that Ultron's idea was that, right, there's a shell now. It's my shell. I built it. I can go in there, and that's what it is. And the other potential sort of carry on from that is when Hayward says, we're nearly ready for launch. And I think Hayward's plan is potentially going to be to replace Sokovia, and on the premise that maybe if we take Westview out of the hex, the only way we can do it is to take it up. So let's lift up Westview and take it out and lift it. And I wouldn't be surprised if the launch was Ultron thinking, right, well, we'll do the same as we did in Sokovia. Let's launch Westview, and then he's going to potentially get his body back, and he's going to finish the plan from the first one.
Your theory also would make sense with the fact that the only evidence that Wanda has been kind of evil was security footage, which can be manipulated by a computer.
100%. 100%.
Now, one of my friends, James, actually sent me a message with a theory on there, which I actually also quite like the idea of. In that, the reason that that Wanda's got vision and all of that kind of stuff at the moment is that when Cap went back to drop all the stones off, he actually gave the Mind Stone to Wanda instead, so that she'd be able to help him. Because obviously we don't know the full story of what Captain America did when he went back. We know that he's lived his life and everything, but for all we know, he could have gone and returned that stone to Wanda, and she.
But then that would make this a branch reality.
Yeah,
that would make this a different reality.
Exactly,
which is what this is all potentially about anyway.
Yeah,
the fact that this isn't. That's a good shout. That could be.
So
that she's gone back in to put the Mind Stone in, and then this is all happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So there's all sorts of theories going out there, but that was quite a good one that I got sent. Yeah. So I just thought I'd mention that one because it was impressive. I did like the idea. So
that's well thought out, that one. And then so that's my main theory, that Ultron is behind this whole thing. But then it doesn't necessarily explain what Agatha Harkness is doing, because my understanding from the little bit of research I've done is that in the comics, Agatha Harkness isn't a bad character. She's a goodie, as we keep saying. She's helped the Avengers. She was Reed Richards and Sue Storm have a kid called Franklin Richards, who's like the most powerful being in the universe, and she's his nanny. And she basically like saves him on multiple occasions and helps the Avengers. She teaches Wanda in the comics how to use her powers. So it's quite different that she's potentially going down the bad route. I think that is where she's going. I think she is bad, or this version of Agatha Harkness is bad. And what I think the big tell, because I know obviously everyone's thinking, oh, it's all about Mephisto and stuff like that, and he's getting, because I think the premise in the comics is that Mephisto, that Billy and Tommy aren't real, or they are real, but what they are is they're fragments of Mephisto's soul. Yeah. And it's like kind of like they're kind of like Horcruxes from Harry Potter. So he needs them to basically become real again, and I think he does in the comics. And they disappear, or they cease to exist, or they die. And what Agatha does in it is she erases the memory of them from Wanda's head. Because she's so upset that she's lost her kids. So again, it's that she's being good. Now, I suppose you could construe it that it's some weird version of that, because Marvel do tend to sort of skew things a little bit from the comics to the movies and the TV series. Yeah. But I think the thing that I think sort of sets what Agnes or Agatha's about is when she's doing that interview, when she talks and she says, do you think that maybe this is what you deserve to Wanda? And I thought, when I watched that again, I thought maybe it's the hex anyway, because I don't think Ultron's necessarily got anything to do with the hex. I think this is just where he's found himself, or where he's found the situation. I think that Agatha's created this whole thing to get back at Wanda or torture Wanda, and at something, and I know we don't know what it is yet, but I think where it might, I've got an idea as to where it might go. But I think that she's created this life, this perfect life, with Vision, her husband who she loves, 2 kids who she loves, and all that sort of stuff, so that she can take it away from her and be like, I've given you this, you've loved it and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to cause you loads of pain. I'm going to make you really depressed and really down, and then I'm going to take it away from you, and then I'm going to kill you to get back at you for something. And I was sitting there and was thinking, what could she be trying to, because we've not really seen much of Wanda, and I think to go down the route of, oh, she's someone from Sokovia, same as Zemo and stuff like that, is sort of treading the same treading the same sort of plot that we've already gone down. So I thought maybe, and this is proper, like, not ridiculous theory, but it's a stretch this, but I could see it happening. We're working with different realities, and I wonder whether this Agatha Harkness is an Agatha Harkness from another reality, and Wanda in her reality has caused her so much pain or done something so bad to her that Agatha Harkness is going from reality to reality and torturing and killing every version of Wanda.
Ooh,
and maybe that's why we're in multiple realities. So perhaps there is maybe, because I think if we could end up with at the end of this, having that Agatha Harkness is the bad guy in this, because of something like that. But then further down the line, we get this reality's Agatha Harkness, who is good and supports and helps Wanda, and we can have Catherine Hahn as a continuing thing, but as a good guy. Because good Agnes the neighbour, I mean, she's brilliant as the minute of Agatha Harkness that we got at the end. She was brilliant, but she's also fantastic as good Agnes the neighbour, the nice neighbour who's a bit of a comic relief. So to have that as an ongoing story going through, and appearing in like Doctor Strange 2 and Avengers movies and stuff like that, even as like Darcy does as a bit of a comic relief, recurring character, I think that would be really good as well. But I don't think Mephisto's going to come into it. I've got a feeling now that Nightmare's not going to be in it. Mephisto's not going to be in it. I think it's just Marvel are taken from the story, and I think it's going to end up that Agatha is the bad guy for some reason. But then at the same time, we've still got potentially 2 hours left of this. It's, 2 hour long episodes. So where the story goes, I don't know. But I'll be surprised if that's if it is about something else. You might, I don't know, maybe Wanda killed Ralph in another reality or something like that.
That's why she talks about him, but we've never seen him.
Maybe, and maybe Nicholas Scratch was her kid in that reality, and he died, and now she calls it, and that's why she calls, and it's,
Do you know what?
She's named the rabbit after him.
For a second, I was wondering whether, when Wanda's powers were going skew-if and everything was changing, I was wondering whether the rabbit was going to change at any point, because it was so prominent throughout the episode. I was thinking, is the rabbit going to turn into something else? Like, is it going to do anything different? Like, but no, didn't. Let down.
No. It was good though. It was good.
No, it was really good.
Good episode. And then because we're going to have to wrap up soon because we've been on an hour and 40 minutes. But I think the last theory that we discussed was that, and I think apparently, because I spoke to my brother about this, and apparently it's a prevailing theory and everyone's talking about it, but just in case anyone hasn't heard it, the Hex, Monica's been through it 3 times, and it's changed their DNA to the point where she's now got superpowers. And maybe there was already something in there because of what she's been doing and her closeness to Carol Danvers and stuff like that. But I think there's a theory out there that when all the people in Westview come out of it and they've been hit with this hex and been in and out of it maybe once or twice, that's going to change their DNA, and that's where the mutants are going to come from. I think the theory seems to be that's Hayward's plan. That Hayward's potentially done this to create mutants, to create more superheroes. But I think it'd be quite interesting to find out that Scott Summers and Jean Grey and all that sort of stuff are in there now. Do you know what I mean? Before the Agatha reveal, when I heard that theory about 4 or 5 days ago, I was like, maybe Agnes is Jean Grey, and that's a real character.
You jump straight back to that again.
But going back to that ridiculous theory, no, it's probably not. It's probably not right. I think it's definitely not right now. But yeah, so that's another theory. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Last 2 episodes. Hopefully, we will get hour-long episodes this time. But
we are
good.
Apparently.
Where it's going.
But
we said we were apparently getting. Oh, have you? From what?
Yeah,
do you know when Kevin Feige rhymes with beige? Do you personally?
Yeah. No. One of my friends has messaged me and said that they
he's read it.
That they know the last 2 are our episodes. So
that'd be good. That'd be really good. Yeah, sound brilliant. Well, I think that sort of wraps up where the episode. I think we've done quite. I didn't think we were going to get anywhere near an hour and 45 this time because we didn't have 5 episodes to catch up on, but we've done it, and we've managed. That means we've got like an hour out of this episode of WandaVision. So I think that's quite impressive. And if you've managed to listen to us waffle on about WandaVision for an hour, well done. So yeah, I think that's about it. To wrap it up, we are. If you want to follow us. We are on Facebook. Anthony is running the Facebook page. I'm running the Twitter page. So Facebook, it's just that superhero thing. On Twitter, you can just search that superhero thing, or the actual Twitter name is @superhero thing. So follow us on there. And then if you subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcast, if you subscribe to us on there, that helps us out massively. And if you can leave a review or a rating on Apple Podcast, that'd be brilliant as well. It'll help us get noticed even more. But yeah, nothing else from me. Thank you very much for listening. Anything else from you, Anthony?
No, that's it. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. See you later.
See you
Bye.
next week. Bye-bye.